As the U.S. economy roars back to life with surging GDP and plummeting gas prices under President Trump, why do most Americans still feel like they're stuck in a financial rut? Perception versus reality. Trump's economy accelerates, but voter skepticism lingers in the waning days of 2025. The U.S. economy under President Donald Trump presents a striking paradox. On paper, key indicators suggest a robust recovery and acceleration, defying earlier predictions of turmoil from sweeping tariffs and policy shifts. GDP growth has surged, corporate profits are climbing, and energy prices have plummeted to multi-year lows. Yet, public sentiment tells a different story. Polls reveal widespread dissatisfaction, with a majority of Americans viewing the economy as unaffordable and Trump's handling of it as inadequate. This disconnect between economic data and voter perception highlights deeper issues of affordability, inequality, and political messaging as the nation heads into 2026. Economist Stephen Moore, a vocal Trump supporter and former advisor, summed it up succinctly in a recent interview. The numbers are turning positive, but the messaging test is real. Well, Moore points to improving metrics like wage growth and capital inflows, arguing that the economy is set up for a booming year in 2026. But as Fox News reported, 76% of voters still rate the economy negatively, up from earlier in the year. This article explores the perception versus reality divide, drawing on recent data, polls, and expert analyses to unpack why Trump's economic gains haven't yet translated into voter approval. When Trump took office in January 2025, the economy he inherited was already showing signs of strain from the tail end of the Biden administration. Inflation had cooled but remained elevated, and global uncertainties loomed. Trump's agenda, centered on tariffs, deregulation, tax cuts, and energy independence, promised a Trump economic miracle redux from his first term. By year's end, several indicators suggest it's delivering, though not without bumps. Gross domestic product, GDP, the broadest measure of economic health, tells a tale of resilience. After contracting in the first quarter of 2025, largely as businesses stockpiled imports ahead of anticipated tariffs, the economy rebounded sharply. The Bureau of Economic Analysis reported a 4.3% annualized growth rate in the third quarter, July-September, the strongest in 2 years. This surge was fueled by robust consumer spending, export volumes, and a $166, 1 cent billion, 4.2% jump in corporate profits. Overall, 2025 GDP growth is estimated at around 2.53%, outpacing many European economies and signaling a growth revival that some analysts call the most underreported story of the year. Energy prices have been a clear win. Gas prices dropped 30% to their lowest in 5 years, thanks to Trump's drill baby, drill push, and increased domestic production. Americans are now spending the smallest share of disposable income on gasoline since 2005, providing relief at the pump. Real wages have risen nearly every month, with retail sales up 5% year over year, reflecting consumer confidence in certain sectors. Small businesses, often the backbone of the economy, report confidence at a 50-year high, leading to hiring waves and expansions. Trump's tariffs, a cornerstone of his America First policy, have introduced volatility, but also generated revenue. While critics warned of recessionary impacts, a Canadian Chamber of Commerce analysis projected a 1.6% GDP hit from a 25% across-the-board tariff. The actual rollout has been more targeted. By mid-2025, tariffs brought in $90 billion, contributing to a $27 billion budget surplus, the first since the early 2000s. Investments like Apple's $500 billion in U.S.-based AI and the revival of U.S. steel underscore capital flooding back home. However, not all is rosy. The first half of 2025 saw slower growth, with real GDP edging up modestly amid tariff anticipation. Foreign relations have cooled economic ties with allies, per a separate analysis, and some sectors like manufacturing and rural areas remain flat or declining. Inflation rose 3% in the latter half of the year, though it's down from peaks. Overall, experts like those polled by CBS News describe 2025 as a year of resilience versus affordability, with volatility from tariffs offset by deregulation and tax reductions. Voter sentiment paints a starkly different picture. Multiple polls at year's end show Trump's economic approval ratings at historic lows for his presidencies. An NPR PBS News Marist survey found only 36% approve of his handling of the economy, with 57% disapproving, the lowest in this poll across both terms. 70% of Americans say things have become too unaffordable, and fewer than 1 in 5 report that Trump's policies made them financially better off in 2025. Even among Trump's base, cracks are showing. Navigator research reported that 14% of Trump voters now regret their choice, citing economic mishandling. A Politico poll found 29% of non-MAGA Trump supporters believe he hasn't seized opportunities to improve the economy. Broader approval hovers around 39-45% per Reuters, Ipsos, and Morning Consult, with the economy dragging it down. Gallup captured the national mood. Americans are ending 2025 gloomy, with worsening economic views and sharp partisan divides. Independents and Democrats are particularly sour. Fewer than 10% of Democrats and 30% of independents view Trump's performance positively on the economy. An AppNorc poll pegged approval at just 31%, the lowest for any president in recent memory on this issue. Quinnipiac found only 34% describe the economy as excellent or good. On X, formerly Twitter, users echo this divide. Some hail the Trump rebound with facts on growth and wages, while others decry high prices and blame tariffs for business closures. The discrepancy isn't accidental. Several factors explain why voters aren't buying the recovery yet. First, affordability remains a sore spot. Despite wage gains, prices for essentials like food and housing are still elevated from pre-2020-25 inflation spikes. Trump dismissed the crisis as a hoax, but data shows otherwise. Prices up 3% in the last year alone. As NPR noted, this mirrors Biden's struggle to convince the public of economic strength amid high costs. Voters feel the pinch at the grocery store more than abstract GDP figures. Second, the recovery is uneven, a K-shaped economy where the wealthy thrive while others lag. Stock markets and real estate have boomed, but rural towns and lower income groups see stagnation. Inequality metrics worsened, with growth driven by the affluent. Tariffs hit some businesses hard, leading to closures and job shifts. Media and political bias play a role too. Conservative outlets like Fox News and Breitbart highlight positives, crediting Trump's policies for defying panicans. Liberal sources like NPR and The Guardian emphasize negatives, such as tariff fallout and approval dips. Partisan divides amplify this. Trump supporters on X2 savings on gas, offsetting other costs, while critics call voters stupid for not seeing improvements. Lingering effects from the Biden era also factor in. Many blame current high prices on past policies, but Trump's team argues it takes time to repair, echoed by supporters who say the inflationary hole will take years to fill. Finally, broader issues like immigration and foreign policy bleed into economic views. While border crossings dropped 96% and crime fell, these wins haven't fully offset economic anxieties. Experts are divided. Moore argues the economy's positives, 4% growth, $1,200 in after-inflation family gains, outweigh tariff costs, predicting a 2026 boom. CBS News polls of economists gave 2025 a mixed grade, citing volatility but praising resilience. Critics like those at Third Way warn that rising food and medicine costs could fuel a Democratic wave in 2026 midterms. Politically, this gap poses a messaging test for Trump. Sagging approvals could hurt Republicans, as MSN noted in a piece calling Trump out of touch. Yet, optimists point to improving outlooks for 2026, with more Americans expecting financial gains ahead. As 2025 closes, Trump's economy is accelerating, but voter buy-in lags due to affordability woes, inequality, and partisan lenses. If 2026 delivers on promises like broader tax cuts and sustained growth, perception may align with reality. Until then, the divide underscores a timeless truth. Economies recover in data points, but voters feel them in their wallets. For Trump, bridging this gap could define his second term's legacy.